Hey all, here are OS Reviews. Today we're taking a look at a smart robot vacuum cleaner called the ZOOZEE Z50. Retails for under $300, sometimes goes on sale and hovers around $250, which is competitive for what it offers. For one, it's using components which are sourced from LG for the battery, which is 5,200 milliamp hours, and it has a suction strength of 3,000 PA. Quite good compared to budget robot vacuums from just a year or two ago, which we tended to see around half of the strength for the suction. And it also includes a companion app. It can even map out the room using its sensors and be able to more intelligently create its own path as it's calculating how to get the most efficient vacuum. Although it isn't using LiDAR to do this, like you'll see on some more expensive models and on self-driving cars that has kind of a laser-assisted mapping system, usually a camera that protrudes from the top of the robot. Versus this thing, everything is completely flush. So the sensors are really just mounted on the sides, also mops, and it has a water compartment that you can use to scrub on hardwood floors, and in fact the water compartment has 600 milliliters compared to 400 milliliters for the dust bin, and that's a really large water compartment compared to some of the other 2-in-1 mop enabled robots that we've seen. On this model, for example, the water compartment is super shallow, meaning that the cloth isn't going to get very wet, and oftentimes if you're cleaning a larger surface it will just dry up. It's basically just a soft cloth at the end, versus this one has a much larger bin, so you're able to fill it with more water. Although I will say it is a little strange that the water compartment has a larger size than the dust tank. Companion app can also connect to assistants such as Google Assistant or Alexa, allowing you to just use voice commands to turn it on and control it if you choose. So again, they are using some pretty high quality parts. Let's make cleaning easier, and we have just a quick start guide as well as warranty that tells you how to set it up, use the robot, set up the docking station along a wall, and install the companion app that you can use for iOS or for Android. Underneath this, we have access just to our robot itself, along with the remote control that you get also as an accessory if you don't want to use the app. Here is the wall adapter. We got a spare HEPA dust filter, so like most of the modern robot vacuums, it will also prevent kind of dust from circulating and try to reduce allergies. A roll of this magnetic tape that it also uses the sensor to detect, and basically it won't cross a section of the room that has this tape. It's not quite as high-tech as a virtual wall that we see some more expensive models like iRobot sometimes have, that uses an infrared beam that's invisible and the robot won't go past a region, but this one has a physical kind of tape. It'll try to avoid that area if you have a larger room that you want to shut off a corner from being vacuumed. Then aside from the robot itself, we have some of the brushes which can be mounted onto the rear. We have just the docking station that it will just latch onto for auto charging, and you even get some spare batteries, 2 AAA to be exact, for the remote control. Finally, on the edge here, we do have a separate compartment that holds the water tank, 2-in-1 design, so everything is integrated. We have the mop part kind of lift up actually to separate from the water tank portion. So the side here is actually where the dust is located, the dirt, the garbage that's collected from the vacuum. You can then dump this out by opening up the tray, versus this entire thing is for the water. So again, a huge space, and we can see some of the interesting almost tube circuitry going on that is dispelling the water, so it only passes a little bit of water through into the mop portion and doesn't get all the water out at once compared to the usual robot vacuums with a mop, and this is the previous amount of water that it could hold. Last but not least, we have the robot itself, the Z50, and again, we do have a pretty interesting finish on the top that looks pretty attractive, a bit more sleek than some of the other models, which are just a regular black or white plastic finish that we've seen previously. So it's made out of glass, although it is a bit of a fingerprint and glare magnet. And then despite having a rather large battery, it still has a relatively slim profile on the edge here, as you can see there, so it's not going to really have a problem getting underneath furniture or beds. And then some of the sensors you can also start to make out. That is basically how it's able to map and detect things. Just turning it over, you can also make out the wheels, which do have a pretty thick kind of rubber tire that can allow it to move over carpets and switch into different types of surfaces without getting stuck. And then we can also see the compartment for the dustbin here that is pre-attached. So by default it already has one that only includes the tank for the dust if you're using it as a regular vacuum, and then if you want to use it as the mop function plus a bit of vacuuming, that's where you can pop in this accessory that we saw earlier. So this is actually really good because earlier I commented how I do think the compartment for the dustbin is a little bit small, but if you are just using it primarily as a vacuum, they actually give you a larger compartment. So the fact that you can pick between these options and switch like modules is quite good. Afterwards, the robot will connect to your home's Wi-Fi network and you're able to control it. Take a look at how long it's been cleaning, the battery percentage remaining, how much area it's cleaned, and the types of cleaning that it can do, whether it's auto mode, follow the wall, spot cleaning where it focuses on just one area that might be a bit dirty, return to charging, randomized cleaning, and then a manual control mode, so you can use it kind of like a remote control car. Advanced settings also allow you to control whether you want the fan speed to be higher or lower. A deep cleaning mode, a silent mode can all be activated. In the quiet mode, obviously it's not going to suck up as much since the strength will be reduced. So let's try a quick demo here. Just tap on start. And you can hear that that's kind of the noise level that it's usually at. So relatively loud unless you're in the quiet mode. And you can hear how it also has a speaker for voice command. So it will tell you powering on, powering off, starting clean, things like that. While it's going, you'll also see the map of its surroundings start to populate on this home screen. And it will become more complex as it's had the opportunity to do more. Alright, so in that 15-minute clean, I think it's done a good job of getting most of the area of this hallway finished off. It's definitely more intelligent than budget robot cleaners in the past, which were completely randomized. They didn't have any sensors for mapping out its location, so they would just randomly bounce and forget where it was previously gone to. So in a random scenario, it would take longer to cover a similarly sized area versus something like this, because they can at least know the location it's been to, even though it's not 100% precise compared to LiDAR, which would be faster and maybe the calculations would be a bit more accurate, but still it's able to do a better job of estimating its path. Using the camera, we can also pick out some of the infrared light sensors, which are invisible to the human eye for detecting walls so it doesn't just smash into the corners, and does a good job of avoiding objects that you may have on the floor. As long as it's about 1 or 2 inches high, it can know that it's there and it will try to avoid it.
Dustbin removed.
It's going to prompt you and prevent the robot from continuing to clean. We can see that indeed it's almost completely filled. Suction strength is doing a good job of picking up things that weaker vacuums might miss. You can dump it out and just continue going. So that's more or less it as far as our hands-on review of the ZOOZEE Z50 robot vacuum cleaner. For a relatively entry-level model, it is showing quite a lot of improvements compared to units that we've seen just a year or two ago. For one, the suction strength has been increased, so it can definitely pick up more. The design is pretty sleek, and the integration with the companion app is easy to set up. And overall, it works well enough, I'd say. So if you're interested, you can check out more details in the links down below. For now, that's been our video. Thanks for watching here at OS Reviews. That's been the ZOOZEE Z50.